On today's episode, we're going to make a classic French dish that has 4 historic chefs, all claiming rightful ownership. Iconic food magazine Bon Appetit has featured this steakhouse classic on its cover no less than 13 times. Today, my friends, is all about steak au poivre on I Can Teach You How to Make That.
Hey folks, here we go again. Steak au poivre. I can't lie, this dish can be a bit intimidating from a distance at first, and I can understand why. It has some fire, it happens very fast, and let's all admit, it has a bit of a douchey name. Pepper steak is all about being prepared and having the correct products ready within our reach. This steakhouse cornerstone may only have a few ingredients, but if you pull it off correctly, you'll be making this dish for the rest of your life. The amount of flavor and satisfaction this steak brings is legendary, and the good news is, once you make it a few times and you know what you're doing, it has less than a 20-minute preparation time. Okay, are you pumped? Because you should be. I'm about to change your life with a steak. Let's go grab a cart and our ingredients for today's dish.
Well, we're making steak, so head yourself over to the beef cooler in the back butcher section at Costco. You'll notice that the beef is generally divided into 2 sections, primal cuts and butchered cuts. Grab 1 package of the beef tenderloin grilling steaks, put it in your cart. I'll go into more detail later in the video of why I'm such a fan of Costco's beef program, but for now the short answer is, they're just doing everything better. Walk yourself into the dairy cooler and grab yourself 1 liter heavy whipping cream and 1 stick butter. Hike over to the spice aisle and we're going to grab our black peppercorns. Just a quick tip, stick with the black peppercorns and don't be tempted to get the 3 pepper medley. It's kinda useless. It doesn't stick to your beef tenderloin and it's about 3 times the price. So just regular black peppercorns are going to be just fine. Okay, time to hop on our cars and head over to Safeway to grab a few of our smaller ingredients. Head straight to the condiment or the sauce section and grab 1 small jar of the Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. If you're even entertaining the thought of skipping this step because you have a jar of French's hot dog mustard in your fridge, don't even think about it. Our final 3 ingredients are within about a 10-foot radius. Push your cart over to the produce section and grab 1 bulb garlic. Straight ahead in the herbs cooler, you'll find shallots. Grab 1 bulb as well. Directly to your left is the fresh herbs cooler. Grab 1 small package of the fresh rosemary. Well, we have just 1 more stop to make. Yeah, the liquor store. This recipe includes alcohol, so we can't get alcohol at Costco or Safeway yet here in Canada. So, make your way into the liquor depot. Grab a bottle of red wine you'd normally drink with steak. You're going to need a couple splashes in your sauce as well. You're also going to need 1 ounce of brandy for this recipe. If you already have a bottle at home, good for you. If not, grab a Mickey. We're just about ready to get going in the kitchen. Here's your exact list of tools you'll need to get going. You'll need a non-stick pan, a cutting board, a chef's knife, a barbecue brush, a set of tongs, and a mortar and pestle. And before we get going, let's set our oven to 375 degrees on bake. Not broil, not favorites, bake. As for your ingredients, you will need the following in front of you. 1 package Costco grilling tenderloin steaks, 2 ounces black peppercorns, 1 cup heavy whipping cream, 3 tablespoons butter, 5 cloves garlic, 1 shallot, Grey Poupon Dijon mustard, 1 ounce brandy, 1 splash of red wine, and kosher salt. Let's start the procedure by using our mortar and pestle to grind down our peppercorns. By smashing this dried fruit down, we are serving 2 purposes. Number 1, we are breaking the pepper into a pop rock size candy texture, which will allow them to stick to the beef. And number 2, we are releasing all the pepper flavor by breaking open the cell walls. Here's a bit of inside baseball. Most professional kitchens don't use this method due to its high labor cost and inefficiency. Do what professionals do. Instead of spending $120 on an elaborate marble M&P to impress your neighbors, spend $20 and buy a cheap coffee bean grinder to use exclusively for your spices. It will cut your preparation time a bunch. Just be sure to grind in short bursts. Think Pop Rocks candy. If you grind too long, you'll be left with black pepper dust, which is not our desired effect. Next, we're going to peel and fine dice our shallot. If you haven't worked with shallots before, I've provided a link below providing our tutorial. They're not that difficult. They handle mostly like an onion and they're pretty easy. You're going to break your shallot down to a fine dice or a brunoise. If your cuts aren't perfect, don't sweat it. They melt away in the sauce and become invisible. Let's bust open our garlic bulb and steal the best 5 cloves. Take the back of your chef's knife and break open each garlic clove. Carefully remove all the papery peel. All we want left is the stinky flesh. Now that our garlic and shallots have been prepared, let's grab our room temperature beef tenderloin and give it a light brushing with the Dijon mustard. The Grey Poupon is actually serving 2 purposes here. It's working as adhesive to hold the peppercorns to the beef, as well as providing an additional flavor component. Firmly press the Dijon covered tenderloins into the peppercorns. If you're worried about the amount of pepper and the heat that this will provide, don't worry about it. The hot oil that we're cooking the steak in kills all the pepperine and removes all the pungency. Let's place our pan on the burner, set it to high. Let's take a few tablespoons of olive oil and coat about half of our pan. Once our oil begins to lightly smoke, we're going to transfer our peppercorn crusted tenderloin steaks into our pan. It's at this stage we can also add our 5 cloves of garlic. Let them sear for a couple minutes before turning them over. You want a nice brown crust. We must now break our duties for this dish into 2 parts, the cooking of the meat and the making of the sauce. Much of the flavor component of the sauce comes from the direct cooking of the beef in the pan and its drippings. We will now transfer our beef into the oven with a few branches of fresh rosemary as well as the garlic. My preferred temperature of steak au poivre is medium rare. Just by eyeballing the size of this fillet and the 375 degree oven, I know I'll be checking for doneness in about 7 minutes. Let's talk a moment about cooking steak and the best way to read doneness. When I was going through my apprenticeship, we were always taught by comparing firmness on our hands when bent in different configurations. It was not perfect science, to say the least. After cooking thousands of steaks in my career, I can say that I can spot the exact moment when a steak becomes medium rare by the amount of moisture that gathers on top. Now none of that is necessary. The modern digital thermometer eliminates all the guesswork. I wanted a perfect medium rare, so I knew that when this tool read 135 degrees, it was time to take it away from the heat. If you're looking for medium, 142 is your number. Any higher than that, and well, you're on your own. We're going to place our beef off to the side to let it rest and focus on our sauce. Head on back to the stove and set it to medium. Add your 3 tablespoons of butter and your finely diced shallots to your medium heat pan. Let the butter and the shallots melt a little while under the heat, at least until the shallots become transparent. Okay, I need you to be very careful this next part, and I don't think I have to explain why. We're adding 1 ounce brandy to our pan and it will make some flames. If you're on a gas stove, this will happen on its own. If you're on an electric like mine above, you'll need a spark to set it off. Be very mindful, but also don't freak out. It's only 1 ounce of alcohol, so you know the fire won't last long. Keep all loose-fitting clothes and hair away from the flame, and we'll be fine. Once your fire's burned out, add a few splashes of the red wine you're drinking for the evening. By continuing to cook the liquids over medium heat, it will reduce the volume over the next couple minutes. Once the liquid has reduced to the point where bubbles cover the surface of the pan, we can add our heavy cream. Over the next couple minutes, I want you to just stand near the stove and keep stirring. Eventually, your sauce will thicken up and become the thickness to coat the back of a spoon. That is your desired texture. Give your sauce a taste, adjust the seasoning by giving it a pinch of salt, and you should just about be ready for dinner. There it is, the money shot, Alberta beef, everything you've ever dreamed of, on a cutting board. So here they are, your 5 key components to making a beautiful steak au poivre. Number 1, choosing the right steak. If you don't live in Alberta, you're playing for the silver medal. The cattle this province produces combined with Costco's skilled butchers make it a tough act to follow. Number 2, proper grinding of peppercorns. If you don't grind them enough, they won't stick. Grind them too far, and all you'll taste is truck stop table pepper. Number 3, having a hot pan. Getting the oil to its smoke point allows the beef to crust, giving it that desired crunch on our first bite. Number 4, temperature management. Owning a digital thermometer is amazing. It's the internet of cooking. Complete game changer. I've included a link to our Amazon store below to the one I use. You can thank me later. And number 5, measuring our brandy. Don't pour from the bottle into the pan. It's a recipe for disaster. Be sure to keep your bottle well away from the stove and everything will be fine.
So, how did it go? I'm curious. If you undercooked your steak, pop it back in the oven for a few minutes. If you overcooked it, well, you've got another trip to the store. Restart the video, wash your dishes, not that big a deal. I hope you enjoyed cooking steak au poivre as much as I enjoyed explaining it. Until next time, I'm David Hussereau on I Can Teach You How to Make That. Bye for now.